What we're looking at here is my 1978 Sunbird Formula model. It's been parked in this corner of the barn for the better part of 10 years, and we want to see if we can get her started running and turned into a regular driver once again. So let's go. So coming up here, we have a 15-minute video about kind of an overview of the project. I didn't get any other pictures of me, the stages of pulling this car out like I wanted to, but the yellow tow strap there is part of what was being used to drag the car sideways and then get it turned around and out of storage. So here we go with the video. Enjoy. All right, will this Sunbird run after 10 or 12 years of sitting in this one spot? Well, we know we're going to have to drop the gas tank. It's showing signs of some leaking anyways, and smells of varnish, so that'll have to happen, but we'll run it off a gas tank to see if it will. Here's what we have for a power plant is a 77 odd fire 231 V6 that was swapped into this car, being that it was originally from the factory a Formula Sunbird that was ordered with a 4-cylinder, and that 4-cylinder sits buried somewhere back here under this pile. There's a early non-cross flow Iron Duke. Non-cross flow meaning that it's set up like a straight 6 with the carburetor and exhaust both on the driver's side of the engine. So we're dragging it out of its corner that it's been sitting in. It's sitting back over here against the wall there for countless years, forgotten. And that is because when we were about to get this car on the road, the brake line popped to the back, and that was a bigger job than I could handle at the time, so I gave up on it. However, I was able to order a factory line. I got some NICOP stuff, a roll of it, and they gave me the wrong fittings, and my flare tool works like a piece of crap, so I just gave up on that and went ahead and spent the extra money on a preformed brake line from Inline Tube, which is arriving tomorrow. So that'll be kind of cool in the way that we'll get the brakes working again. I've already removed the factory brake line, the rear brake line, which attaches here. So it's all the way removed, all the way to the back of the car. The only hang up we have is the I cut it at the rear brake hose, and that piece, I don't think it's going to come out of the rear brake hose. So I just went ahead and ordered a $7 brake hose that connects it to the rear differential. However, you also have to disconnect the intermediate brake lines from the not the calipers, but the pistons there, the brake cylinders to that line, and I'm imagining those are going to be pretty solid frozen up, so we might have to use up the kit comes with those brake lines too, but I was hoping to have some spare parts to use on some other cars. These cars don't really go through the front brake lines that often, so I don't think I'll ever use those. They'll probably just sit on the shelf forever like everything else. So this car is going to get that V8 swapped into it. It's kind of sad because I liked this little motor, but it is connected to a questionable 5-speed transmission, one of the factory ones that wasn't that great to begin with. So this V8 here is a 4-speed, much more reliable, and of course powerful power plant that runs well and was well maintained. And it came out of this Formula Sunbird, which was nearly identical, which was kind of neat. So I thought it would just be fitting to put that engine into an identical car to kind of resurrect it, versus it could have went into that car there. But there was too many issues with a beautiful solid car that would have been great for a swap, but it runs great as it is, and it's an air-conditioned car, so it would have needed a whole bunch of work to convert it to non-air conditioning. So I just assumed we'll put it in this one, we'll run it as is, and if this one ends up succumbing to whatever rust it has, which isn't much, but there is some, we'll eventually we'll have to just send it out to pasture and get that gold one going. But for now, we'll have these two Sunbirds plus my Monza, so 3 cars, plus my daily driver, plus my van. So it's a lot of cars to maintain for now, which is a little bit of a pain, but we'll see. One thing I could probably cut, but it would be difficult to cut out of that car, is a really unusual area of rot on this car, which is right in this the top of this heater blower motor area. So we're going to have to see about what we're going to do about that eventually. But for now, we're just going to leave it as is. And run what you got. We got a brand new V8 radiator for it, which is a hard piece to find, even though technically speaking a V8 Monza would fit right in here. So in theory I could have done that, especially if I would have left it non-power steering. I could have probably just reused this radiator, but I imagine this one is probably a leaker, probably once it gets under pressure there. So we'll see what happens. I think I'm going to throw a battery in it and try to actually start it as it is, and I can, stop it with the parking brake and stuff. We're just because we want to try to get it out of storage here, and or at least position it so that maybe so that I got the if I can position it so it's pulled into the bay, pulled into the garage there, then we can pull the V6 right out of it, which would be kind of neat. So yeah, lots of shuffling shit around, everything that was in the way of this car, because you know how storage and garages go. You pack everything in there. You got personal items and spare parts and the tires that you're going to use and all that shit. So guitar stuff. So with some juggling here, we're going to get this thing out. I'll make a second video a little later to see the progress of this thing moving out. And maybe I don't know, if I just angle it that way, I could theoretically get the engine out. But see, all I want is room to pull the puller back or roll the car back, which is even easier. So you know what we might do is just actually set it up so it is pulled into the bay, because then I just can push it out as the engine and transmission come out. I like to take them out as a pair, as a team. And then we'll drop this guy in today, hopefully, or probably not today, but as a matter of fact, since the brake line is coming tomorrow, well, hopefully maybe we can yank this one by today or tomorrow, and that way when everything is out of the car, I think we'll have an easier time getting that brake line done. If we need some extra room in the engine bay or need to jack the car up, it's going to be a lot easier without a motor and tranny in it. And the spring swap might even be easier with the without the motor and tranny in it. It did okay from the 4-cylinder to this power plant, especially losing the power steering. So it almost equaled out. It was probably sat about an inch lower, but that worked out, I think, for the most part. However, these springs for the 4-cylinder will not hold up on the V8. So we've got 2 sets we can work with. I've got a set of the factory ones that came out of that car. I did pull them out, which will be cool to use. However, I've got a set of high performance springs and sway bars, so we might use those. It's kind of a toss-up because this particular car came with a handling package, giving it the, I don't know if we can see it there. You can kind of see it, that bar going across the bottom there. This has got the 1 1/8 sway bar versus the regular 1 1/16 bar. So it'll be it's a toss-up. We could use the factory sway bar stuff, or but we can change that later anyways. What we do need to change is the springs, and I'm just saying the sway bars because I have a set of high-performance sway bars that go with those springs, and those really turn the car into a flat cornering car. And I know that because they were originally installed on my Monza before I took that all back stock. And my thought is to kind of go like I always read about those Trans Ams in the 70s, always caught my interest as a little kid. And this was the late 70s, and the Herb Adams Trans Ams were and he did some stuff with Camaros too of the same year, but it was all about handling. And so I thought it'd be cool to kind of go a little quote unquote Herb Adams with this little formula here. And it's it's just not worth having all the doodads and without the best engine it could have. I don't think there's too much of a performance difference between the V6 and the V8. As a matter of fact, the V6 probably corners a little better when it comes down to it, especially if you're just dealing with the stock setup with the V8 or the high performance springs there. It doesn't, the V8 handles great. Yeah, I think so. I think it's, I'm just trying to justify in my mind the big swap here to the V8 with what is already a perfect running engine in the car. Aside from that, the only issue we have two issues that I'm not too happy about. One is the rear tail panel. This car has no rear tail panel. I was been waiting for one and haven't heard anything from people that have said that they were going to make them. However, today I got on my messenger to these people, and I did hear back, and I've got at least tentative plans for someone. Someone says I'm next. Another person, two other people got me in mind. So hopefully someone will come through, because by September of this year, probably October, I'm going to be heading out to go spend the winter somewhere else a little bit, where I really, these cars will just stay in storage. There'll be no getting them out from November to probably April or May, because this is Western New York and the weather just isn't good for classic cars until a few months of summer. So that being said, we want to get this done and hopefully get a tail panel on, because the whole back end is disassembled. I don't know if it'll make sense to get it on the road. And the second and final thing we'll talk about in this video is this hood. I discovered something just today or yesterday with someone else asking me a random question about Sunbird hoods. They said their spring, they wanted to know where the spring was located on a V8 hood. So I said, yeah, I'll take a picture. I've got the V8 hood over here, because I just so happened to be looking at it the other day, and I noticed, hey, that spring looks like it's in a weird spot, because this I know is the spot where the spring would normally go, and there's this welded on doodad right here and over here, and that's when it dawned on me that that is where the spring resides on a V8 car with the special V8 radiator and shroud. And that being said, that means that I either have to use this hood on that car or weld that piece to this hood. And the reason I want to weld that piece to this hood, if I can find someone to weld for me, is because this one is not dented and a little less rusty than that one. That one has some dents on the top. And even though they were originally the same color, that car got repainted at one time. So it's going to actually have probably a little bit of a different shine and view to it if I use it on this car. So I'm hoping to just use the factory thing here. So we're going to see what actually goes down with all of that. So that being said, that is the story for now. We'll update you in a little bit when I come back to hopefully I'm about to get this thing off its wheel. It was on these wheel perches there that allowed me to slide it at an angle here. Now I'm just going to it doesn't want to move anymore, and it's kind of stuck and it needs to come forward. So it makes more sense to put it down on its wheels and roll it if the back end isn't frozen up. So we'll see if hopefully the rear axle isn't frozen, the wheel, the corner there, which kind of gets affected by the elements here, because this part of the barn or shed here that it parks in is not perfectly sealed down below, so it gets affected by the elements. Fucking the animals too. Some bird made a nest in here a couple years ago, I guess. And yeah, well, hopefully it'll roll forward here, and that'll get us to at least be able to maneuver it at an angle and get it pushed out there. Once we get it pushed out, we can get it turned around pretty easy. But heck, might even be able to start it up in a few minutes. So we'll see. I got a new battery somewhere over here for it. So provided I can get some fuel in there. I know I got a fuel pump for it sitting right there. And as far as the tank goes, I don't want to put any gas in that tank if I'm going to drop it. So I'll probably try to siphon it out of, I'll fill up one of these little red tanks over there and run a hose into that and see what happens. So, all right, let's see if it runs. See what happens. Before any of that happened, here is a picture of me repairing the rear brake line. A big job that I put off all those years ago, and finally decided to get under there and tackle it with the help of the fact that I had a replacement line come in, fully formed, perfect, everything from inline tube, great company that manufactures the lines, the factory lines, just as they go on the car. So really cool there. Quick picture of the NICOP line and the wrong fittings that I decided not to use. Okay, so before we go any further, I thought I would give a little backstory here. Here's the car as I purchased it way back in around 2004 from around or near Syracuse, New York. Looking great. The original, at that time, it had the original Iron Duke non-crossflow motor with the 4-speed transmission. Incidentally, it used to be a 5-speed when it was brand new. However, the original owner told me a story of how it had a problem and was replaced with an identical 4-speed setup from a parts car. So there you have it. Had the original rally wheels on it. Now we're running the snowflakes, as you'll see when we're done, and obviously looking a little bit better than it does these days. But we'll hopefully get it back to looking this condition next. And you can see it also had a good intact tail panel on it at that time. And later on, I found, interestingly enough, that this car was built on my 6th birthday in April 20th of 1978. Okay, so there's one more relevant backstory here to go over before we get into any of the final videos showing swapping and getting it finished. And that is the Sunbird I found on my trip back home, not planning on finding another car. However, this one popped up in the paper, and it just so happened to be a car I'd been chasing for years and years, because this is an original factory V8 Sunbird Formula that is one of the 129 units that they purported to make that year with a 4-speed. There were more V8 automatics, but when it came down to the V8 and the 4-speed, it said that there were 63 coupes and 66 hatchbacks made. So this is one of those 66 hatchbacks so I couldn't pass it up. I'd been chasing it for so many years, and here's the day I went to go pick it up and struggled loading it onto the trailer. A little bit about that. And on a hot July day, maybe June, I think it was early June, struggling with a very low level of energy I didn't know was related to my condition, I got that car pushed out into the street, and as you can see here, ready to load on the trailer. However, there was a struggle getting it forward. It started taking me all day, and I got lucky and got finally some help from some neighbors and a passerby in a Ryder truck, whereby using a tire as a buffer between the truck and the car, we finally got that thing pushed up onto the trailer. A little haphazard, but it made it all the way home. And we had to prep the car by getting underneath and struggling to remove the front air dam in the street. And it was a little bit of a struggle to get that car home. Alright, so what we're looking at here in these next series of videos is the type of damage I found on the car that deemed it not worthy of a restoration, unfortunately, being that it was one of these original V8 cars. In this next video, you can see some of the deterioration that was happening that was beyond my level of repairability in the garage in the time that I had. Here we have a hole forming. Incidentally, I got a similar spot of rust in the car that we swapped into, however, not as bad as this. Here we have parts starting to come off the car, the doors being extremely heavy. Were a great exercise to help me start getting back in shape. You can see the car did not have an original formula steering wheel. Here's the hatch removed and more parts getting torn off and thrown into the back. Doors sitting off to the side. Build sheets, always a nice thing to find. Helped me determine the date built on the car, June 5th of 78. And here we have it finally pushed outside. If you're wondering about the little cuts in the front fenders, that was to access the hidden front end bolts that we couldn't get to since we couldn't remove the wheels right away, since there was a wheel key missing that we eventually cut off. And here is my car getting pushed out after a week-long excursion parting out the Sunbird. The V8 Sunbird, that is. So without any further ado, let's get into the rest of this video with footage of me doing the swap, the actual swap here, pulling the V6 and installing the V8. The only thing is, we didn't really plan to make a video about it, so the narration is what it is, and well, we're not Vice Grip Garage, and we wish we had all the sparkulators and digital meters to make a great program like that, but it is what it is, so I hope you enjoy, and we'll probably make a two-part video. Keen eye will notice that's a 77 defroster switch and 77 style gauges, meaning that this dashboard came from a 77. Why? Because it was plug and play with the engine harness. When the engine was swapped in, this all came from the car that was in, which was a 77 Starfire GT, which just so happened to have the same black with wood grain dash that a Sunbird would have, minus some of these 78 style switches, but that's okay. Swapped in some delay wipers. Pretty sure they work. I gotta check them out. Missing a horn button there. We need the guts and the button. The guts were used in another car. Here's the white and black interior, because while the dash is black, the actual seats and door panels, A-pillars that we need, headliner that we need sagging. There's the pattern I'm looking for. And just to take a tangent here, I was looking for this pattern, and I can find the same series of 2 dots in that pattern, but it's got these stupid straight lines up and down it instead of this random leather kind of texture. So still trying to find an exact match. And yeah, so there's some old junk on the seats. And here's the not finished off, swapped in 5-speed. There, I'll make it kind of look good. Oh yeah, look at it, much better. There's the 5-speed T5, and I wish there was a way to hold the phone, like say right here, so we could go on a drive, but there isn't. So I need 2 hands to drive the car, if not 2 hands to steer this manual steering, which is really heavy. But we got it rolling around. We'll try to give it a drive here. Oh, and just for curiosity's sake, a 77 sounds like this, with the key in. Oh. Well, anyways, oh. It's if I have the lights on. No. Never mind. I thought it was going to give me a buzz and make a 75 to 77 style buzz versus the chime, single chime of I'm closing the door, of a 78 car would have more of a ring to it, and I wanted to show that, but it wouldn't do it. Blower motor I hooked up, made some noise, and now it's humming right along. There's the Oddfire 231. You can never tell if it's going to stall or if it's just idling. Sounds like a motor with a big cam. The knocking is just the exhaust. There's a clock that's not working. Maybe we'll take that apart someday. And for some reason we're charging a little less than 13 on this car. I think perhaps the alternator's not that great. Battery's not probably that great either. And we're low on gas, but the gas gauge came back to reading like it's supposed to. And for a day or two the tach wasn't working, but now it's back doing its thing. So let's go on a ride, I guess. I gotta keep you here. So first is down here on a T5, then you got second, third, fourth, and fifth, and yeah, it's not hard to find the gears, and they have a nice solid feeling, a little more like you'd expect the transmission to be versus the way the Saginaw has a crunchy bunch of levers and stuff to move. So anyways, this shifter's internal to the transmission on a T5, but I'm sure everybody knows that. I'd be tempted to use it behind that 305 if I don't plan on using it for anything crazy, but I just don't know how long it would last, and don't want to build a car that's going to leave me stranded anywhere. Part 2, here's the drive then. See what's over here. Oh, look. It's friendly Sunbird number 2. And we can't go that way because the big space shuttle van is in the way. So we're on the neighbor's property, but he's pretty nice about such matters. It's the gold Sunbird. Too many Sunbirds. Can't decide which one to drive because they're all kind of cool. Oh, I could burn it up the road, but running through the gears, but we're low on gas, and we don't want to just have the happen chance that any John Q laws are coming down the road. We'll just keep her on private property. So when you move the car, the steering moves like almost like a video game car that's trying to simulate some steering resistance. Alright, so we gotta get kind of close to that door. We should have that closed. But maybe we won't put her away yet. We'll just pit stop for some gas. I got 2.5 gallons in the garage waiting to go in. I bet we burned about a gallon from the 2.5 we put in there from when it was just about empty. Alright. Alright, so far we really haven't gotten into the meat and potatoes of the video or any great action. Not that there's going to be any, but we're going to take this, cut the video off here, make it a part 1, and so that we get good upload without taking forever, because we're already at 31 minutes here. And I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you at the next episode number 2. Stay tuned for the V8 swap. Hopefully you got some footage of pulling the V6, V8 going in, and the final product, among other things. Let's see.